Hello, how are we? We okay? Good. Hands up who's here just to see Tim. Come on, be honest. We can't be honest with ourselves. I don't need anything. Okay. Thank you, Colonel. I see the Colonel's got some red cards there as well. I used to be a footballer. I've seen plenty of red cards in my life. So that won't be the first time I've seen one. What do I talk about? I talk about the people in cyber, right? I talk about the people that I think we kind of fail a little bit. Hands up all those who are in cyber or consider they're in cyber. Just a few, yeah, a few. So I'm almost like an agony uncle, right? So I almost come to these things and kind of say to them, what about the people? Now, we talk about the people we should be serving in really negative ways, I find. I've heard the weakest link already today, right? At some point, I'll hear the term users, right? And I think what I'd like to do in my talks is point out that we're all idiots, right? We are all idiots. If we weren't idiots, there'd be no need for caution hot contents on a coffee cup, right? You'd pick it up and go, oh, that's a bit hot. I better not pour it over myself, right? Or peanut butter. You wouldn't need may contain nuts. It's got nuts in the title on the jar. It's like, what's going on? So when somebody clicks a link, we shouldn't give them too much of a hard time because they're made to be clicked. There's kind of three truisms of life on the internet. People will make mistakes, right? Links are made to be clicked. And bad people do bad stuff, right? This is no different than when we were on the savannah in Africa a couple of 100,000 years ago, foraging for berries and nuts. There would always be somebody who'd want to steal your berries and your nuts, right? There's always somebody that wants to do that. So I don't know why we're surprised today when people do it. Now, I'm also not up here to bash vendors, but you will hear a lot of, here's how you do it. This is great stuff. For those of you who aren't in cyber, the one thing I would say to you is really nail the vendors to the floor and ask them difficult questions. Because I used to be a vendor. I used to work for Symantec. But nail them to the floor. Ask difficult questions of them. Ask why. Ask why that works that way. Get a little bit more into it with them. Really ask them if they fully understand whatever they're presenting here today, right? Luckily enough, I'm not selling anything here today. I'm just a filler until Tim comes on, right? That's all I am. But see, I go about this in a slightly different way. I've not as long as the Colonel. I've been in cyber nearly 30 years. You probably think to yourself, a Scouser in cyber, what's going on? How did he sneak in? But I kind of fell into it in the early 90s, working for the Ministry of Defence, just after I realised I wasn't going to be the professional footballer I thought I was. And I'm here for two reasons. The first reason is I did want to be a professional footballer. Unfortunately, growing up in Liverpool, my age, there was a young lad in Liverpool called Steve McManaman. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he played in my position back then. The second one is I'm the first person to lose £1 million live on TV. It was a game show called Red or Black. It was Ant and Dec. And if I'd have won the £1 million, I wouldn't be here today. I'll be quite honest with you. I'd be on a boat in the Caribbean, somewhere like that, right? Son of myself. So I've been in it a long time. Security, InfoSec, information assurance, and now cyber. And I think we come up with those terms to make ourselves seem a little bit more interesting than we are, right? Because it is a dull industry. Anybody who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you stuff, right? It's really dull. And I think we're doing it to maybe get ourselves invited to office parties, right? We never get that invite because we have a reputation of the people who like to say no, you know? If we don't know the origin of the word cyber, in the early 90s, to cyber was a verb. It meant to have online relations with people. So I cybered with them last night. So just remember what you're telling people when you tell them that you're in cyber, what kind of description you're giving to them, okay? Just remember that. And it's that kind of realism that I think is missing from our industry. We're using 4 or 5 words to say a simple thing. And when I talk about awareness, you know, I talk about just being yourself with people. Awareness needs a personality, I think. Maybe not my personality, but awareness definitely needs a personality. We're trying to tell people, don't do that. It's bad to do that. Don't click that link. Don't do that. The business will go under and you'll lose your job. I think we kind of get that equation the wrong way round. Businesses want you to protect them. So it's their selfish thought that you come into work, protect us, you've still got a job. People don't care enough about cybersecurity or the business in general to do that, right? You don't give them enough reasons to care about that stuff. People want a couple of things. They want a steady salary, and they want to go on holiday for a couple of weeks a year to forget about their job generally. That's what they want to do. They want to escape from all of that. So we need to make it a bit more engaging for them. And here's the bit that I've found recently. So for those of you who have seen my videos on LinkedIn, firstly, apologies, right? For any trauma I may have caused, dressed up as whatever I may have been dressed up as at the time. But the reason I do is to try and inject a little bit of humour and a little bit of fun, because actually you learn more. You learn more when that happens, right? I normally ask people, who's your favourite teacher at school, right? And they'll always remember the funny one. They won't remember the psychopath, right? And my school had loads of psychopaths. A boys' school in Liverpool in the 80s, there was plenty. They were normally all games teachers as well. I don't know why that was. But I remember the funny ones. There was a couple of funny ones. And I think, it's not rocket surgery, right? I mixed those metaphors up deliberately. But it isn't rocket surgery to fully understand that. When you start opening up the pathways to positive emotions, you start getting people on board. You start getting people understanding things a bit more, you know, rather than 40 slides of a security awareness training program once a year, and people are like, oh, kill me now. Kill me now, I don't have to sit through this again. And then you give them a quiz at the end where you need 80%. It's never 83.5%, it's never 80%. It's always 80%, right? And you allow them to do it 3 or 4 times so they pass. And that's your big tick in the box. Your big tick in the box, move on, you don't have to worry about it again. So the thing I kind of advocate for, and there's a couple of other speakers today who'll advocate for something, is little and often. So we all need little and often in our lives, no matter what we do, right? And I talk to people about how did your parents teach you to cross the road, right? It was patience, wasn't it? Stand, look, listen. If some of you are old enough to remember the Green Cross Code Man, then, or AKA Darth Vader, Dave Prowse. I'm sure my age now. But it was patience. It wasn't, I'm going to tell you once, I maybe tell you twice, and then on you go. And that's kind of how we're approaching security awareness today. We're approaching it where we think if we tell people once or twice, or tell them once a year, that they'll get this stuff. And I don't think we're serving them well enough. I don't think we're doing enough to help them, and I don't think we're doing enough to support them. Simon Sinek says a wonderful thing. He says, if you're a leader, you're not in charge of people, those people are in your charge. And it's really true. We seem to think in cyber, well, we have great hindsight, right? It's all perfect after the event. It's like listening to Sky pundits disseminate where the goal came from and things like that. We don't need that type of stuff. I think we need more compassion and more empathy. That's my idea for future of cybersecurity. Oh, and garlic bread. Seeing that Peter Kay is back, right? Garlic bread. Who's got tickets for Peter Kay? Anybody? Nobody? Just me. I'll be selling them afterwards if somebody wants to buy them. Mates rates, don't worry about that. But I think it is compassion and empathy. I think we need to be a little bit more understanding. We need to show people that if they make a mistake, it's not bad that they make a mistake. And we also need to stop as well with the types of tests that we currently give them in the name of training. We need to stop trying to trick people by showing them that this is what a phishing attack is. Click, oh, more training. That's just breaking trust. It's breaking trust with your people. If you've got compassion and you've got empathy, you're actually going to foster a trust with them. And if you're going to give them something to help them with their family and friends, you've got half a chance of them protecting your business without you even having to ask them. You don't need to ask them. You're giving them something. It's their benefit. You're not asking for anything back. I know you want stuff back because I know you got metrics and charts and compliance and that to fill in. Compliance does not equal security, people. It never has and it never will. Okay? It just doesn't. Yep, look at all the data breaches. All the data breaches in the world. Every one of them was probably compliant with this, that, and the other. Still happens. Hey, that's another thing. 90% of data breaches include human error. What's the other 10%? Is it squirrels? It should be 100%, shouldn't it? It really should, because we're designing the code, we're part of that process, people, process, technology, all of that kind of triad. It must be part of that. So I come at it from a fun point of view, right? Latterly in life, I've started to do stand-up, which is the most terrifying thing in the world, by the way. But it's great fun. But you can see the reaction you get from people, and you can see the feedback instantly you get. And I kind of try to bring that into the awareness side of things. I try and make people laugh. I try and make people... And then once you get that emotion open, you can then start injecting some much-needed information. And the amount of times that people come up to me and say, oh, that video was great, I remember that bit, or that bit, or people say to me on LinkedIn, oh, my wife has downloaded a password manager, or my granddad has changed his password for the first time in years. That's the idea of it. It's that little and often, you know, it's that little and often that we need to keep people engaged. Now, the elephant in the room with any of this is offense, right? Now, I know you think, I'd never get away with it in my company, I'd never get away with it. I think that's something else I'd like to see in the future. I'd like to see us not be duplicitous, I can't even say that, two-faced, that's the right word to say, in work, because we offer a different face outside of work than we do in work, right? And offense is, when somebody says I'm offended, they're saying to you, could you please sort out my emotional reaction to what you've just said? Right? You can't do that, you can't help it, you cannot fix that type of stuff. All you can do is say, listen, that's not the way it was meant, you've misread the context, here we go. I think if you set out without the will to offend people, then you're golden. If you do set out with the will to offend people, then you're a special kind of arsehole, right? You really are. So when people come to me and say, what about that? What about the offense side of things? I'm like, you know what? These people are normal people. They'll say those normal things outside of work. So let's just be a bit more human about it. If we can show more of a human face, if we can be a bit more empathetic, a bit more compassionate, you know, maybe not touching, don't give people cuddles or anything like that. I'm not advocating. I do not want any kind of lawsuits coming back on me for inappropriate touching, right? Do not do any of that. But it's almost like that scene at the end of Good Will Hunting. It is where Robin Williams does grab hold of Matt Damon and says, it's not your fault. I think that's the bit I'd like to leave you with. It's not the user's fault, right? Two industries describe their people as users, the software security industry and the drugs industry. There must be some kind of link between those two. How am I doing for time, sir?
You've got a couple more minutes.
Couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Right.
Go, carry on.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Good. No. Right. Would you like a joke? Would you? Yeah. I don't think I can get away with any of my jokes, to be quite honest. No, I can't. I normally do go on stage. No, I'm not going to do it because I'd be cancelled. I would be cancelled. See, even I know where the limit is, right? You guys haven't had enough beer, and I would be cancelled and walked off stage straight away. You want one of those jokes? Right, okay. Which one can I give you? Right, let me do this. So I normally give people a warning that I'm a scouser to keep tight hold of the valuables, right? And it's nice that I give that warning. If you listen closely enough in life, there's other elements of society that give you similar warnings, right? So I'll give you a few examples. If you're in a group of friends and one of them says, yeah, I've decided to go vegan. It's been a couple of weeks now. Feel lovely. They're warning you that the next 10 or 15 minutes of your life are going to be the most worthy and boring conversation you've ever experienced. Or if you're having the perennial debate of cats versus dogs, and somebody says to you, yeah, I'm more of a cat person. They're warning you that they fully understand years from now they're dying alone, stinking of piss. Or, my absolute favourite, if you're in this conversation and somebody turns around and says, yeah, I voted Brexit, what of it? And I also voted Conservative as well in the last election. They're warning you, way ahead of me already. They're warning you that you're in the presence of quite a special kind of twat. I think that assures I won't get invited back, right? Does it? Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Do we have a minute for questions or points? Or?
We haven't got time for questions, but if people would like to talk to Ian and get a little bit more of his humour and knowledge, he'll be outside at coffee break.
I'll be outside apologising to each of you individually.
Ian, bless you.
Bless you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Thank you.